Hi everyone, Emily and Jack had what everyone believed was a perfect life. Jack was the kind of husband people admired, hard-working, kind, and completely devoted to his wife. They were a power couple, a duo that complemented each other in every way. From lazy weekend brunches to quiet movie nights, Jack adored Emily and made sure everyone around them knew it. They had been married for 5 years, and he still looked at her with the same sparkle in his eyes as he had on their wedding day. Jack believed he knew Emily inside and out, that they were soulmates in every sense of the word. But as time passed, little things started to feel off. Emily, who had once eagerly shared every detail of her day, became more reserved. She laughed less, avoided Jack's gaze sometimes, and always seemed to be busy, even when they were alone together. Jack shrugged off the changes, thinking it was stress from her new job, a demanding marketing role that involved long hours and frequent travel. Still, a feeling of unease settled in his chest, a quiet, persistent feeling he couldn't shake. The first sign came one Friday night. Emily was going out with her friends for a girls' night, and Jack encouraged her to enjoy the time with them. But as the night wore on and her texts slowed to a trickle, his gut began to churn. When she stumbled in late, smelling faintly of cologne and looking a little too disheveled for a girl's night out, Jack's suspicions grew. But he pushed them down. He didn't want to be the kind of guy who questioned his wife's every move. Emily had never given him a reason to doubt her until now. 2 weeks later, the second sign appeared. Jack was helping Emily with some laundry when her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number popped up on her screen. Last night was unforgettable. When can we do it again? Jack felt his heart drop. He put down the laundry and took a deep breath. Emily noticed his expression and quickly swiped the message away, forcing a smile back onto her face. "Work stuff," she said quickly. "Just a joke from a client." Jack forced a smile, but doubt was creeping into his mind. The words from that message kept echoing in his head, leaving an uncomfortable knot in his stomach. He began to change, becoming more withdrawn as he watched Emily closely, painfully aware of every small behavior he had once found endearing. It wasn't long before Jack's worst fears were confirmed. One rainy Saturday night, Emily told him she'd be working late again. Jack kissed her goodbye, but as he watched her drive away, he couldn't ignore the suffocating weight of doubt in his chest. On impulse, he got into his own car and followed her, keeping his distance and turning off his headlights. He watched as Emily pulled into a small, dimly lit bar on the other side of town. A man, tall with dark hair and a wide grin, was waiting by the door. Emily stepped out of her car, laughing as she wrapped her arms around him. Jack's heart shattered. As we dive deeper into the story, I'd love for you to join our storytelling family here at Lost Love Mysteries. If you're captivated so far, why not take a moment to tap that subscribe button? Every new story gives you a front row seat to unforgettable journeys, ones that might just resonate with your own. Let's continue and see how this story unfolds. They went inside and Jack drove home. The image burned into his mind. His vision blurred with anger and betrayal. He stumbled into his empty house, feeling 1,000 emotions at once but numb. He poured himself a drink, then another. Each one dulled the pain just enough to let him think clearly. Jack realized there was no saving this marriage. The woman he loved was gone, replaced by someone he didn't recognize. But instead of lashing out, Jack decided to do something else, something that would make Emily feel the betrayal as keenly as he did. He spent the next week carefully preparing, laying out a plan that would ensure Emily's betrayal came back to haunt her. Jack quietly emptied their shared bank accounts, transferring the funds to an account she had no access to. He began packing his things little by little, taking only what he needed and leaving no trace that he had ever touched the house. He arranged to work remotely for a while, coordinating with his boss so that he could leave without drawing attention. He wanted to be gone before Emily even realized what was happening, leaving her with nothing but empty rooms and the full weight of her actions. The night before his departure, Jack booked a suite at a nearby hotel, setting it up so Emily wouldn't know where he was. He knew she'd likely be spending the night with her mystery man, which fit perfectly into his plan. While Emily was out that night, Jack carefully followed through with his plan. He left a single note on the kitchen counter, a simple farewell with no explanation, no apologies, just 3 words. I know everything. He made one last sweep through the house, leaving behind the memories of what they had built together. By the time he closed the door behind him, the house was nearly empty, just a hollow shell that matched the emptiness in his heart. At the hotel, Jack waited. He poured a glass of whiskey, watching the clock tick as he imagined Emily's reaction when she returned home. He could almost picture her face, the confusion turning into panic as she found the note, the empty house, and the absence of everything familiar. He hoped she'd feel even a fraction of the pain she had caused him. Emily stumbled into the house at dawn. The smell of someone else's cologne still clinging to her clothes. She called out for Emily, expecting her to be asleep in bed, but the silence that greeted her was unsettling. She flicked on the lights, her gaze falling on the note on the kitchen counter. Panic set in as she moved from room to room. Her eyes widened as she realized he was truly gone. She opened closets, only to find them half empty. The drawers contained barely any of his belongings. Even their wedding photos were gone. Every trace of him had been meticulously erased. Emily's heart pounded as she reached for her phone, dialing his number. Her calls went straight to voicemail, and she left frantic messages, her voice breaking as she begged him to come back. But Jack didn't answer. He was already long gone to in the weeks that followed. Emily tried everything to reach him. She called friends, family, and even showed up at his workplace, only to learn he'd taken a remote assignment. Her calls and texts went unanswered, each one chipping away at her composure until she was left with nothing but regret and heartbreak. Her new relationship with her mystery man quickly soured, the excitement fading in the cold light of reality. She was left alone, forced to confront the consequences of her choices. Jack, meanwhile, started fresh. He rebuilt his life in a new city, surrounded by new friends, far away from the memories of his failed marriage. He found peace in knowing he'd taken control of his own story, refusing to let betrayal define him. When Jack looked back on it all, he felt no bitterness, only a sense of quiet satisfaction. He'd given her what she wanted, freedom, but in the end, she'd only trapped herself in her own loneliness and regret ending line. Sometimes, the greatest revenge is simply moving on,